Hello everyone. Welcome to the Tier 3 stream for Fusion Racing League. Tonight we are racing at Singapore. Of course, the first question is going to be, what is the weather doing? Because Singapore is one of those tracks in the game that have quite a high chance of being rained out. In which case, guys will have to utilize the intermediates, and in some cases even the weights, in order to get enough grip. And we are in qualifying now. And bring up the minimap. So a number of drivers do have quali bans. So names Jeff has a quali ban, Borsa and Timmy Gun. Yeah, those are the drivers with quali bans, so they won't do any qualifying tonight. We do have toxic waste pulling out off the track already. And it looks like it's going to be dry. Trying to look up at the sky, I don't see any clouds. It's very difficult Singapore, but I think sometimes if it's overcast you can just about see the clouds in the night lighting. But we aren't seeing any of that here. The two Aston Martins out in front. PC is running a bit choppy, so I hope the stream survives. It was running perfectly fine earlier on today. Anyway, so Wilder Blue is the first one to hit a flying lap on the board, going through the tricky middle sector here, heading towards the Anderson Bridge. A little bit we go, flick to the right, hit the brakes hard, hit the apex a little bit wide on the exit there, delays his throttle input as we go towards this tricky right-hander. Very important to get a good exit out of here, mind the track limits on the exit, which I believe in real life has been opened up. So in the game we still have to be careful of that white line. If being kicked from the session. I might have to pull the stream and restart the computer at the end of qualifying, because this is quite choppy. Anyway, so LPJ VR is currently at the top of the times with a 1 minute 30.1. See if anyone else is on a flying lap. Up to who's on an out lap. So we do have Big Red Vigilante going for another flying lap. His current time is 1 minute 32.243. Finds himself in 6th place. And he'll be hoping to try and improve on that time. Now something's being overloaded on my end. Yeah, my CPU was being maxed out completely. I had to open up Task Manager and every single core was being maxed out, so I've had to kill some programs and it's reduced the load, but I'm going to have to do some troubleshooting. The life of owning a PC. Anyway, Big Red Vigilante finds himself now in 2nd place Just less than 1/10, just over 1/10 behind LPJVR. He still finds himself sitting on pole position. Toxic Waste has climbed up to 4th place. Enjoying that runoff area there at turns 1 and 2. Let's see who is doing a flying lap. Doctor Who is coming into the pits. Foxhatter Racing will start a flying lap, and he's right behind Joshua Knott. So be on board with Foxhatter Racing, right on board with him. We can see both drivers at once. Aston Martin on the apex, getting out of the way very nicely indeed. Going to be a nice slipstream for Foxhatter Racing, but he is now going to be stuck in the dirt here of that pass in front. But of course both of them are flying laps. This is where it's become a bit of a problem. Bit strange there from Joshua Knott. It was almost like as though he's trying to get out the way, but then was still trying to push on a flying lap. Either way, it has compromised both of those drivers. Thankfully, there is still time left on the clock for them to have another attempt and then even go into the pits for an extra set of soft tyres. Singapore is not actually that long of a track. It feels long, but the actual track distance is not too bad. So it's mainly a lot of low speed corners and stop go sort of affairs. Foxhatter Racing, they were still able to improve by 6/10. Not a bad improvement for the Mercedes driver, who finds himself up in 7th place. The Aston Martin behind of Wilder Blue, I believe, managed to jump him with his own flying lap. And the championship leader, Alfie JVR, is out on track once again. And he's going to go into this right-hander here. He's 4/10 up on his previous lap time. Purple sector 2. DRS open for the final time. Hit the brakes for the chicane. You can brake deceptively late into that chicane. Very easy to brake a bit too early and carry too little speed through there, but Alfie JVR able to put out a monster of a lap. First person to get below the 1 minute 30 mark, and by quite some margin. A 1 minute 29.490 sees Alfie at the top of the times, with 5 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. Current man in second place, Big Red Vigilante, the McLaren driver, will have another go. Can he respond to the lap time Alfie JVR put down on the board? Foxhatter Racing, I believe, yeah, he won Las Vegas. P284 won in Qatar. But Foxhatter Racing has had tremendous pace in both of those races, struggling a bit more in qualifying, but making up for it in the race. But we'll keep an eye on him and see if Foxhatter Racing can improve any more. And speaking of previous race winners, P284 up there in 3rd place already, so good position to be sitting on with just over 4 minutes left to go. And Big Red Vigilante weaving his car there through the twists and turns, over the Anderson Bridge, through the hairpin. The eyes open, and it is another purple sector 2. He's half a second up on his previous time. And if he can find similar improvement in the final sector, he will be on course to displace Alfie JVR at the top of the times. Using the brakes for the chicane, a bit of a slide there on the rear axle. on the apex of the chicane as we go through this final turn. It's just a quick flick to the left, slight lift of the throttle, and the grid vigilante was not quite able to replace the man currently on provisional pole. And Buckingham is on a flying lap as well. He finds himself currently in 9th place, very wide through that turn. It's going to compromise his lap a bit. He only needs to have a 1 minute 32.6 flight. Oh, as he hits the wall, that is front wing damage for the Williams driver. This lap going into the bin fairly quickly, and he is 2.2 seconds down on his own time, so I expect him to go back into the pits, get a fresh set of soft tyres, wipe that lap from his mind, and have another go a little bit later on. As we see White Tiger starting his own flying lap, he's only 19 thousandths up on his previous lap time through the first sector. The eye is already fairly well drained there, but the rest of this sector is a lot of slow speed turns. So let's see if he's able to recharge enough battery. Not quite the 2026 regulations yet. We are nearing the end of the league racing cycle on this year's game, and we still have to deal with some slightly slower recharge rates, but it does also mean that the battery gets depleted a little bit more slowly. White Tiger will be hoping to displace Toxic Waste, who finds himself in 4th place there. And he is able to improve, but only by under a 1/10 of a second. Not enough to move himself up a position. And Joshua Knott, just want to give a bit of a shout out to him. He's currently driving on a keyboard. It's just absolute madness, if you ask me. I've driven the F1 game before with a flat yoke, but I imagine that's still a lot easier than driving with a keyboard. So hats off to him for taking that challenge and continuing to race, even if it is only with binary inputs. As we see, Dark Shadow Racing has found the wall in the middle of the Anderson Bridge, and he will have Joshua Knott catching up to him, as Joshua Knott will tap his keys as quickly as he can to get around this lap. Make sure that he keeps it on the track. That looks very, very painful to drive, I have to say. Trying to drive with a keyboard. There are some fast guys out there who use a keyboard. Not sure how they do it, but they somehow manage. And Toxic Waste. He won't have to deal with binary inputs. He can control his car with much finer analog detail as he weaves his way through turns 1, 2, and 3. Probably one of the most interesting corner sequences on this track, and definitely my favorite corner sequence on this track, as that is time up. Big Grid Vigilante misses out and will not be able to improve. And P84 going a bit wide there. Let's see who is on a flying lap. Toxic Waste is on a flying lap here. We were on him previously. I believe that's everyone else in the pits or already finished with their flying lap, so apologies if I missed anyone else. I was looking at Dark Shadow Racing, and then obviously Joshua Knott driving around the track with binary inputs, drinking left and right. This is a good lap for Toxic Waste, half a second up on his own lap time, and that will hit him up into 3rd place. We'll have to find another half a second if he wants to displace 2nd place. So 3rd is currently the highest that he can reasonably look for. through the final turn. Maximum commitment, and he does find extra time. Almost finds the full second. But alas, he did come about 3/10 shy of second place, but secures his position in third place fairly nicely as Peter 84 has entered the pits. And that is your qualifying order on the left hand side of the screen. Alfie JVR on pole position ahead of Big Red Vigilante. Those two, bit of a margin ahead of third place, Toxic Waste. Himself is quite a bit ahead of Peter 84. Then White Tiger and Wilder Blue, two Aston Martin drivers, find themselves in 5th and 6th. And in 7th place is Darkseid Racing, Doctor Who in 8th place, and Buckingham in 9th place, and Joshua Knott in 10th place. Incredibly tight margins at the front of the field, only 34 thousandths separate the top two positions. Who will get the better start and who will lead from the first lap, and who will call the strategy right? Well, we have to wait and see. Catch you in about 5 minutes. See you then. And the formation lap is live. It's alive! Alright. So let's take a look to see what tyres everyone is on. Everyone on mediums except for Alan Buckingham and Forza in the Mercedes, taking the alternative strategy of starting on the hards. There the game is showing us the possible race strategies, which is typically very wrong. I don't know exactly what they use to generate those strategies. I believe they're just the same as what the game gives you by default in the race setup on the screen, but I also don't know what determines the strategies there. But the pit lane is very long here, so very slow speed. Not a very long pit lane in terms of its distance physically, but you do lose a lot of time when you pit. Also, because that final turn is fairly high speed, it means that your average speed in the section of the track is much higher than anywhere else in the circuit. Which means you lose even more time in the pit lane. Anyway, so it is Alfie JVR who finds himself on pole position in the Red Bull. Behind him and just to the left of him is his nearest challenger, Big Red Vigilante in the McLaren. And we are ready to take the start. Green flag in the back. The 5 red lights will go on. When they are out, we are racing in Singapore. It is a good start for the front row as Alfie JVR has kept the lead, and we see Toxic Waste going around the outside, but very cautious on the brakes there for turn 1. Leads to a bit of contact between him and Peter 84, and there's contact with the Aston Martin. No, with someone else. I don't know who the contact was with, but someone lost a front wing end plate there. Thought it came from the Aston Martin. It came from Peter 84. That is interesting. I thought he was ahead of Toxic Waste when the contact happened. In any case, damage to the Haas driver. Oh, maybe it was from name's Jeff, the Ferrari. I did suspect it might have been from a Ferrari. And yes, as you can see, name's Jeff has got some damage to his front wing there. So it's a very quick and clean start for the front too. But a bit of a checkup further back in the field as as the battle for third place didn't really want to get going through the first couple of corners, and we see Darkseid Racing also with damage, so a number of drivers missing their front wing end plates, and Forza is also climbed up through the field up to 10th already, starting on those hard tyres. Also damage to his front wing end plate. So at this point, you'll be very lucky if you don't have any damage to your front wing, because the majority of drivers have lost at least one of their front wing end plates. So the current order at the end of lap 1 is Alfie JVR on the Red Bull at the front of the field, followed by Big Red Vigilante. He finds himself 1.2. No, only he's now within a second of Alfie JVR, so a big push from the McLaren driver through the first 3 turns. And then there's a 2.6 second gap to Peter 84, who has damage to his front wing. And name's Jeff, who had a very quick start. You have to remember, he started at the back of the grid. because he had a quali bat, and he finds himself already up into 5th place, looking to try and challenge Toxic Waste. It's a shame that he has damaged his front wing. That will hurt him for the rest of the stint, but a very quick start from the Ferrari driver. And Forza keeping himself there in 10th place. A bit of a battle going on here between Joshua Knott and Alan Buckingham. And it's a big train here as we go through the Anderson Bridge from 4th place downwards. Toxic Waste struggling a bit for pace and confidence here. Looks like he is struggling to get that front end to turn in. Having a lot less speed through a lot of these corners, but good speed through that turn, which secures his position, one would think, for this next straight. And indeed it does. And at the front of the field, Big Red Vigilante has completed his big push, sets the fastest lap, and is well within a second of Alfie JVR. He's within half a second of the race leader. We're going to cut to him now. Oh, but there is a move here with names Jeff and Toxic Waste through the first turn. And Toxic Waste just not really having the confidence needed here in a lot of these slow speed turns. Wonder if he has some sort of impediment that is hurting his driving. Want to look at the top two, but there's also this big train here, this heavily condensed train of 5 cars. But we do not want to take our eyes off for too much longer, because something might happen. White Tiger finding himself very much the meat in the sandwich, and the meat has slipped out as he has dropped a position there to Timmy Gunn, going very, very deep in that braking zone. Went off the track and was unable to keep track position ahead of the Alpine driver. Alfie JVR has pushed on through that Anderson Bridge section and has opened up a near 4-second gap once again, as we see Doctor Who facing the wrong way. As he goes ahead and plunks his nose in the wall before completing this 180-degree turn to get himself facing the right way again, but he is missing an entire front wing, and he will have to enter the pits or enter the wall again, as it looks like that is what has happened. Enough camera switching. We are going to stick with this battle here. This battle for what is now 5th place. Toxic Waste still really struggling for pace. If this was real life, I would dare to suggest that he has an engine problem, but you don't get that in F125 with these lobby settings. And indeed, Timmy Gunn is able to absolutely fly past down the straight. And that is another position lost for Toxic Waste. I don't see anything in the Discord saying or suggesting that Toxic Waste has left the session, so I don't think this is his AI driving. In fact, speaking of which, we can bring up the position changes and bring on the telemetry. But that is not AI inputs, so Toxic Waste is very much in the session. And Fosso has been given a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits. Must have cut the corner in a very specific way to get a 10-second penalty for that. Or it could be a glitch. One never knows with the F1 games. And Buckingham and Josh and I have been fighting with each other a lot for these past couple of races. Oh, and that is Forza with the front wing gone. Don't know what happened with him. Must have made contact with the barrier some way. And that is Toxic Waste being overtaken by White Tiger. Sorry for switching the camera angle at the incorrect time there, as Toxic Waste nudges the back of the Aston Martin and then shifts down into neutral. And well, car doesn't go vroom vroom when you're in neutral. Well, it does, but none of that is going to the rear tires. So it is lap 5 out of 31, and the current order is Alfie JVR ahead of Big Red Vigilante, but being pressured quite heavily on the McLaren driver behind. And then it is a 6.5 second gap down to P84, but we see a challenge here for 6th position from Dark Shadow Racing, who makes a good move up the inside of the Aston Martin driver. Good move there up the inside into that chicane. And is to outbrake White Tiger and achieve an efficient overtake. And now Timmy Gunn is right behind Name's Chef, and he'll be looking to try and mount an attack into this next heavy braking zone, and indeed he will, fly by before we get to the braking zone. And that is the Alpine ahead, but Name's Jeff really throwing it all on the line on the brakes there on the outside, but unable to fight back. So a last gasp attempt there from the Ferrari driver to stay ahead of Timmy Gunn by hanging it around the outside. Didn't quite play out for him, but we see Big Red Vigilante's got ahead of Alfie JVR, so while we're watching Timmy Gunn overtake Name's Jeff, Big Red Vigilante must have got past Alfie JVR in a non-DRS zone, because I was keeping an eye on those two as they were heading towards the heavy braking zone at the end of that first DRS straight. There's a specific name for that straight, but I can't remember what it's called. And Alfie JVR has lost the race lead to the McLaren. So apologies for missing that. The gap had been fairly close for the previous couple of laps, but nothing had been made of it. Oh, and that is P84 entering the pits. He's lost another front wing end plate. So he's been tapping the wall somewhere else now. And he must pay the price by going to the pits early to replace that front wing. Put a new fresh set of tires on. Not softs, preferably something else. And indeed he does, he goes for hard tires. So bringing up the tire graphic now. Everyone in the top 8 on the mediums. They have not pitted yet. P84 has pitted onto hards. Wilder Blue has pitted onto hards. Foss has pitted onto mediums. And Alan Buckingham and Doctor Who also had to pit early onto mediums. And already Alfie JVR hitting the recharge limit, which is definitely a big limitation here at Singapore. If you could, you would recharge more of your battery, but simple answer of the matter is you're not allowed to. But Alfie JVR has been able to equalize his battery situation with Big Red Vigilante. So if Alfie JVR can continue to do that and stay within a second, he might be able to build up enough of a battery charge difference, mount an attack to reclaim first position. As we see Toxic Waste going to the pits. Yellow flag was shown momentarily, so he might have gone a bit wide on the entry and found himself beached momentarily on those sausage curbs. So a number of drivers pitting fairly early. Typically you want to try and go well past lap 10 before pitting at this race. In fact, I believe he's around lap 12 or 13 that you want to try and aim for, at least. So a lot of these drivers, what's solidifying themselves onto a 2-stop. And Namesjeff has started to lose a bit of pace here to Timmy Gunn and is dropping back towards Darksetter Racing. So that could be a battle in a couple of laps time. But currently the LP man of Timmy Gunn looking quite well placed to take a 3rd place if all goes well. Peter 84 having to replace his front wing after sustaining even more severe damage. In fact, did he replace his front wing? Yes, he did. And Peter 84 will soon be on the back of his teammate and will hope to be late past very soon. And Joshua Knott has been given a 3-second penalty for track limits. And he has now entered the pits, getting out of the way of his teammate. And NG Dodge Darksetter Racing has caught up to the back of Namesjeff. And a crucial development of this race is that Alfie JVR has fallen more than a second behind Big Red Vigilante and has lost DOS. So this has only secured the McLaren driver's advantage, and it is extremely crucial as we enter towards the pit stop window for these top 2, who I'm certain are aiming for a 1-stop. And the gap has immediately doubled between the 2 competitors, as Alfie JVR finds himself almost 2 seconds behind the McLaren driver. And Namesjeff fighting with Darksetter Racing, but it looks like he's managed to hold on to that position for now. And is that rain that I see? Raindrops are falling from the sky. It has officially begun to drizzle. And will this develop into a full-on storm? And will all of these drivers have to pit from slicks onto the intermediate rubber, or even potentially onto the wet tire rubber? I believe at this track it will mostly only be the intermediates that we see, and Namesjeff is the first one to pull the trigger, going for those intermediates at the first sign of rain. Did look like as though he was side by side with Darksetter Racing there in the final chicane, and he must have thought, you know what, I'm struggling with grip as it is, might as well take the gamble, go on to intermediates, and hope that I can make some time up on the leaders and pull a bit more of a gap to Darksetter Racing, as we see Doctor Who is off the track there on the exit of the chicane. The track proving to be very, very slippery, and we will go to the leaders very soon to see if they react to this rain and pit this lap or stay out for another lap. They are on very old mediums at this stage. But is it weight enough for the intermediate tyre to be quicker? Well, Big Red Vigilante stays out and Alfie JVR both stay out. But you can never see grip is low. On the exit there you could hear a bit of traction control kicking in there for Alfie JVR. And we have Joshua Knott exiting the pits there, I believe, and yes, grip very, very low at this stage. Do wonder if this rain will stay with us for the rest of the race, or if it will come and go. And that is Doctor Who once more in the barriers. We'll be hoping that he can just make it around the rest of this lap and put some intermediate rubber on that car, find some grip in what is clearly very, very slippery, tricky conditions. The leaders are crawling through this section, This might work out really well for Name's Jeff, who was the first one to go onto the intermediate tyre and might find himself with a big gap over Dark Shadow Racing, potentially even challenging Timmy Gunn if he is able to deliver enough pace. Oh, and that is Doctor Who out of this race, and that has brought out a safety car, I believe. You can see the Ferrari stranded in the middle of the track with the tyre. The front right tyre mounted on top of the nose. And that is cause enough for a full safety car. Toxic Waste had just pitted. You can see he exited the pits just ahead of the safety car. So, this works out brilliantly for the top 5. They decided to stay out long and persevere. And they persevered long enough to be rewarded for their pain. As all that is very deep for Big Red Vigilante. Going over the white line there on the pit entry. Clearly no grip being offered by those tyres. Sliding wide. Thankfully he did not miss the pit entry. Which is a mistake despite how embarrassing it is. All too easy to be made. You can see the Aston Martin safety car parked there just after the kink of turn 4. So now everyone is on the intermediate tyre. The top 5 having benefited from that safety car. But Name's Jeff will be racing here as soon as he crosses the line. He'll be racing against the Delta if he can. To get ahead of White Tiger, which indeed he has. So pitting early for the intermediate tyre. A gamble, well worth the risk for Name's Chef, but becoming undone as the safety car was called out for his teammate, crashing on the exit of that right-hander, which I really should look up a track map for. I need either a corner number or a corner name. And now the leaders have caught up to the safety car. Leave that straight. The first DI is straight. Just after turn 5 on the Boulevard straight. Or Boulevard. It's Ruffles Boulevard. I might be mispronouncing that. So it was turn 14, on the exit of turn 14. The corner opposite this one, that Doctor Who crashed in. And we are now currently going through turn 9. Nice drone shot, I believe. Or it could just be a helicopter that's staying very still. And there's the turns 10, 11, 12 and 13 complex. With the Anderson Bridge there. And as you can see, the rain is still falling quite steadily. There will be significantly wetter conditions for these drivers to handle once this race gets restarted. But first we have to wait for the rest of the pack to catch up to the safety car queue. So lap 13 out of 31, safety car is our Big Red Vigilante, leads from pole sitter Alfie JVR, Timmy Gunn. The Alpine driver finds himself in third place. Up 9 positions, Timmy Gunn, another driver with a Quali ban. So he started from the back of the grid. Excellent drive from the Alpine driver. Dark Shadow Racing finds himself in third place. Oh, name's Jeff. I don't know what happened there. He was over the curbs there. I wonder if he lost just slightly on throttle, because I don't see why he'd be trying to pit at this stage. Either way, James Jeff in 5th place, up 6 positions. White Tiger down 1 position to 6th place. Peter 84. He qualified extremely well. Was challenging for 3rd place on the opening lap, but got a bit of damage, and then got more damage, had to pit early, missed out on the safety car, and finds himself down 3 positions in 7th place. Toxic Waste is in 8th place. He's been struggling for pace all evening in this race. Forza, he had a decent start but got damaged very early on and wasn't really able to make any inroads. But the safety car has helped him get back up to the back of the queue. Swap of positions there behind the safety car. So I wonder if one of those drivers momentarily lost control and had to retake their position in the queue. But Adam Buckingham is in 10th place in the Williams, and Joshua Knott still persevering there on his keyboard, doing very well to still be in this Grand Prix in 11th place. And Wilder Blue in the Aston Martin finds himself currently in last place. Not the start to the race that he would have wanted. And the FIA, clearly being a little bit impatient, have decided to call the safety car in before the rest of the pack has caught up to the queue. He'll be back to racing very shortly. Big Red Vigilante will slow up the pack and wait for his best opportunity to put the hammer down, get on the throttle, and leave the rest of the pack for dead. And he does so right out of the final turn. A lot of traction control kicking in there, which limits his exit and means that he does not quite get the jump he would have wanted, but it is good enough for now. Keeps him ahead of Alfie JVR in 1st place. Bit of a challenge there from the Ferrari driver of names Jeff on Dark Shadow Racing. He's going to get the switchback, or will he? No, with the wider exit. Dark Shadow Racing finds himself soaring ahead of the Ferrari driver, then goes wide on the entry into turn 5. Gonna look back towards the front of the pack, but there is no challenge for the lead yet from Alfie JVR. Not quite able to get close enough on Ruffles Boulevard. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And name's Jeff. Still trying to get as close as possible to the back of Dark Shadow Racing, but not able to really do anything with it yet. Alfie JVR not letting Big Red Vigilante run away with this one. He is keeping him under increasing pressure here. We go turns 12 and 13 over the Anderson Bridge, and there's the Ferrari driver going a bit wide in the middle of the hairpin. Heat 84 finding himself a little bit off the pack, as well as Toxic Waste. I said the safety car worked out brilliantly for Forza. Well, it didn't really, because he wasn't able to catch back up to the pack. So we have to hope that there's more drama in front in order to bring him back into this race. Going to take off the position details. Give ourselves a little bit more viewing area. Alfie JVR really pushing on hard now. He wants to regain that track position. He wants that first place that he lost. He qualified on pole. He kept first place off of the start, as we do see name's Jeff here fighting with Dark Shadow Racing around the outside of turn 5. He's got front wing damage once again. Not going to be good news to Jeff. And he's still fighting it out here with Dark Shadow Racing. Doesn't look like there's a chance for the lead up at the front, and that is the other wing. Front wing end plate gone for Jeff. Braking slightly too late there for turn 7. And that now finds the Ferrari driver with a lot less front downforce than he would have liked. I expect we'll see him start to fall away from the back of the Mercedes driver. You know, Big Red Vigilante is not really pulling away at this stage. He's currently forming a bit of a train here. Oh, and that is a VSE. For what exactly? And that is damage to the Aston Martin driver, I believe. Yes. Oh no, more damage to name's Jeff. And already we've got a penalty given out for speeding under VSC. I don't know what that was given for. What was that deployed for? I don't see anyone here in the back with major damage. But of a strange one from the FIA. If anything, it caused more damage for everyone else. Maybe White Tiger? No, he was... yeah, he was slow there after the VSC was deployed. Everyone is entering the pits. This is so strange. Oh, it's dry enough for slicks now. So it had stopped raining. Probably still a little bit slippery, but everyone decides, you know what, we want to pit now. Except Toxic Waste, who decides to stay out for one more lap. You'll hope that it is a lot more slippery out there. I was so busy trying to look to see if anyone was able to go for a move that I completely forgot to check to see if it was still raining. And, well, it had stopped raining. So now, we're going to have to bring out the tyre graphic once again. There you go. Everyone, except Astronaut, Alan Buckingham and Toxic Waste, is on hard tyres. Also having to pit for a used set of hard tyres. Now, name's Chef was able to replace his front wing, but that has dropped him down to 9th place. So he's trying to find a way past Dark Shadow Racing and has now found himself falling a bit further back. Finds himself now behind Peter 84. So this is your virtual race lead. Big Red Vigilante ahead of LVJVR. So a strange string of events. I was remarking on how Big Red Vigilante didn't seem to be really pulling away all that much. Probably because it was too dry for those intermediates. And then suddenly there was a VSC called, which meant everyone had to slam on the brakes on the exit of the corner. And that caused loads more contact, which completely took off Jeff's front wing, which is already heavily damaged. And I believe also did damage to White Tiger. So the Aston Martins qualified well. I believe they're 5th and 6th. But currently they find themselves 11th and 12th. And Toxic Waste has entered the pits now, and he has lost the race lead. Just not enough grip out there for the intermediates. The track is already too dry, and the hard tyres are the tyres to be on. So the safety car ended pretty much as the track was drying. Had it stayed up for just a few laps, I'm certain we would have seen some drivers enter the pits and pit on slick rubber before the safety car went back into the pits. But the safety car went in a bit prematurely, didn't wait for the queue to form up. And that left us with this situation. We've still got a fight on for leader of the race, but Big Red Vigilante has the upper hand in terms of battery charge. That will help him tremendously with defending this position from the likes of Alfie JVR. And Timmy Gunn has lost quite a bit of time there. So I wonder if he was a little bit slower on his way into the pits with the VSC Delta compared to the other drivers. We did have a drive-through penalty given to someone. I think that might have been Aaron Buckingham. I'm not entirely sure. Big news for the lead of this race. Alfie JVR has got himself a 3-second penalty for track limits. As it stands, even if he was to get ahead of the McLaren driver, he would lose the lead post-race due to that penalty. But now Alfie JVR has even more work on his hands if he wants to get that first position back from Big Red and take the win. Timmy Gunn has been given a 3-second penalty for track limits as well. Track limits proving to be tricky for these drivers to manage out there today. As we see White Tiger pulling up to the back of Fossa, who is on much older hard tyres. They've already had a heat cycle put through them. And White Tiger finds himself with more grip than the Mercedes driver ahead of him. Is pushing on to try and make an overtake happen. Timmy Gunn, or Big Red Vigilante, excuse me, looking a bit slow on the exit there out of... What turn is that? Turn 8. Ooh, we have Forza and White Tiger going side by side here. White Tiger going very, very slowly there on the entry there. Now Forza has pulled over to let him back through again. So I wonder if there was some illegal overtake shenanigans going on there. And they had to let each other back through multiple times to satisfy the game. Alfie JVR he doesn't care about his battery. He is pushing all the time to try and pressurize the McLaren driver into some sort of a mistake. That's what he needs right now. It's going to be very difficult for him to overtake the McLaren driver and open up a 3-second penalty, so he needs to push the driver in front of him to either get a 3-second penalty himself or go off the track, hit the barriers and get front wing damage, and that might be able to give Alfie enough of a pace advantage. But we are also catching up to some back markers here. We have Wider Blue in front who will be getting the blue flags, but we do have ghosting on there for that. And oh, Alfie JVR is very wide there in the back. Currently the field is spread out quite a bit. This is the closest battle that we have on track, and it is for the lead of the race. So we'll be sticking with these drivers for now. Everyone in the top 6 on 4-lap old hard tyres. Toxic Waste with 1 lap fresh and medium tyres, so he might be able to catch up to the back of Peter 84. And White Tiger also on 4-lap old hards, pulling away from the likes of Forza. These drivers pitted early enough that I believe they still have to do some time management to take these hards to the end. Not a lot, but I don't think they can just push flat out and take them all the way to lap 31 without at least losing some pace. So we might see some of these drivers entering the pits once again. LPJVR very wide in the background there. Turn 8. Now through turn 9. A gap has opened up to 7/10 between him and Big Red Vigilante in front of him. And Toxic Waste is the latest driver. He pinged with a 3-second penalty for track limits. My name's Jeff has entered the pits. Has been given a 10-second penalty and he's got front wing damage again. Don't know where that came from, but Alfie JVR is close enough to make a challenge for the lead into turn 7 there, and Jeff has retired in the pits. He's decided enough is enough. He's tired of having to purchase new front wings. He's going to hand over the car. And there's another driver out of the session. We see Josh not pulling over there after losing a front wing end plate himself. And these two are currently just opening up the gap to Timmy Gunn behind, who has to push on. He has that 3-second penalty, but Dark Shadow Racing does not. So a battle for the podium is on our hands here, but it is in timing only. So if Dark Shadow Racing can stay within 3 seconds of Timmy Gunn, he will get that 3rd place by the end of the race. Alfie JVR still pushing on as hard as he can, but horrible exit for him. Has very little grip there for the rear tyres, and it just means that Big Red Vigilante is able to open up their gap on corner exit enough so that Alfie JVR just simply cannot challenge in any way, shape or form for the lead down into turn 7. Over the Anderson Bridge we go into turn 13 hairpin. Definitely looks like as though Alfie's best chance at an overtake is on the Ruffles Boulevard. I've already forgotten what the name is. So, oh, but he might be close enough here for a challenge into turn 1 around the outside, but not able to outbrake the McLaren driver who holds his line and holds his nerve, staying ahead all the time through turns 1, 2, and 3. Gonna climb up towards turn 5. Does the McLaren driver get a good exit out of this turn? He's got battery to spare, or deployed all the way down the straight, and indeed he has been able to open up a big enough of a gap, but LPJ still burning off his battery, but not able to get close enough to mount any sort of challenge there into turn 7. Now look further back just to see what is going on here. Dark Side Racing still doing well to close that gap to Timmy Gunn out in front. Peter 84 missing a left and front wing end plate. Same thing with Toxic Waste. Gonna go back to the front of the field as Alfie JVR still very, very close to Big Red Vigilante. But you know what? Big Red Vigilante has done well to gain more battery charge than Alfie JVR. And the advantage might well be swinging in the McLaren driver's favour. But you see, Alfie JVR is recharging down that entire straight, which helps him to alleviate the battery situation somewhat. We got a yellow flag out there. Oh, that's Alfie JVR almost spun off into the barriers. Lots of tracks in there. You can see the DRS is still open, but those rear tires screamed loud enough, and they have given up on Alfie JVR's car, and now he will have to defend from Timmy Gunn, and Timmy Gunn has more battery than him at this stage and will get DRS, but it's not a good exit for the Alpine driver, and Alfie JVR will not want to lose an extra position here. But you know what, Timmy Gunn might still have a go at it on the brakes for turn 7, but not daring to commit too much to the overtake. But you know who's on course for second place in this Grand Prix? I told you he might struggle in qualifying, but he always comes alive in the races, and that is Dark Side Racing. He wasn't quite there in qualifying. He didn't have the best start to the race, but he currently finds himself on course to take second place, which will be another good result and another podium for the Mercedes driver. Now the battle is for second place between Alfie JVR and Timmy Gunn, but it will all be in vain because of the silver arrow lurking in the background. He finds himself currently one of only 2 drivers not to have any sort of time penalty. Timmy Gunn already out of battery there, but so is Alfie JVR, so you know what? Not everything is looking rosy for the championship leader. Bit of a yellow flag there, but I believe that's just for Josh Van Aert, who's exiting the pits. Alfie JVR struggling for grip, and that is the Alpine driver already passed well before that kink in the middle of the straight. Turn 7. And that is second place gone for Alfie JVR, who's currently staying at 4th place because, again, of Mercedes driver behind him. Will very likely take second place if things stay the way they are, and there aren't too many laps left to go in this Grand Prix. Big Red Vigilante now has a 5-second gap to Timmy Gunn, and can now afford to relax, which he has not been able to do for the entirety of the race. But will he relax, or will he do a Kimi Antonelli and just push, and push again all the way to the end of the race? We have White Tiger also right up on the back of Toxic Waste. Just want to bring up higher graphics to see. Toxic Waste, he's on those mediums, so they will be starting to lose a bit of grip as Peter 84 has retired from the session. That is very, very deep in the hairpin after the Anderson Bridge. And he finds a tyre sheared off the side of his car. And Alfie JVR did not need any second asking. He is immediately coming to the pits to put on soft tyres and get some grip. But the safety car's not going to be out for long. In fact, it might come in at the end of this lap. So Alfie JV will have to push for all his worth to catch up to the back of the queue. No, the safety car stopped on track. This is strange. It didn't pick up the leader. I believe we might have a glitch here. The front guys are still on a delta. I don't know if Alfie JVR is on a delta or not. Safety car's parked off there to the side, but there aren't enough laps left in the race. Surely would have to be in at the end of this lap, because we need 3 laps of green flag racing conditions, which is laps 29, 13, 31. This might be a bit of a messy end here, and all is not as it seems. Toxic Waste pitted, giving up track position to White Tiger, and Anna Buckingham also pitted, Forza also pitted as well. We'll take a look to see the penalties once again. So Alfie JVR took the gamble there, but it's definitely not going to pay out for him, because he will not be able to close up the safety car. Alfie J... Big Red Vigilante is trying to pit. That, I believe, is the wrong call, because the safety car will not be out for any but longer. It must be in at the end of this lap. It must be. But the 2 drivers without penalties have decided to enter the pits. And it might work out alright for them. Indeed, it probably was the right call after all for the 2 drivers there at the front. Alfie JVR has been able to jump Dark Shadow Racing. It does look like as though they're still under a delta of some sort. Timmy Gunn will be urging the safety car driver to drive as fast as you can, get around this track and get back in, so that I can keep an advantage of more than 3 seconds ahead of my competitors, that I can win this race. And it depends, if the others are still stuck on a delta, we might see Timmy Gunn able to gain 1 position from this. He won't gain enough to stay ahead of Big Red Vigilante, and at this rate, I believe 4 of the top 4 will be able to catch up to the safety car before it pulls back into the pits. But either way, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. With Josh Renault here right behind Timmy Gunn. And Timmy Gunn just wants to launch immediately. He does not want to wait. He wants to be across the line as soon as the safety car is in the pits. But he must slow down to let the safety car enter the pits first. And that is Big Red Vigilante already caught up within 3 seconds. So that is chances of victory gone for Timmy Gunn. But chances of second place might still be there as he tries to launch it. But he can't, because the game is prohibiting him. Because the safety car is not in the pits yet. And there you have it. Dark Shadow Racing is probably at this point close enough now, as we see Alfie JVR making the move down the inside of Big Red Vigilante. It is pandemonium here on the restart, as drivers are going slow, then fast again, then slow again. And they are fighting with each other. Big Red Vigilante, this is the last thing he wants. He does not want to be fighting with anyone at this point. He wants to be out in front, right behind Timmy Gunn, to take the victory due to the penalties. And he's going side by side with Alfie JVR on corner exit. Oh, and he's gone deep. He's gone very, very deep into the barrier, and that could be potentially damage for the McLaren driver. Yes, it is. He's lost a front wing end plate. It is disaster for the 2 drivers without penalties, because they are both being held up. And Timmy Gunn is trying to sprint away, but he's on very old hard tires. And he's not quite able to open up enough of a gap. Alfie JVR, he could very well take this position away from Timmy Gunn. Not quite enough to take the win because, as you can see, Big Red Vigilante is right behind him still. Darkseid Racing and Big Red Vigilante still looking to be within that 3-second gap to jump Timmy Gunn. It was a worthwhile gamble for Timmy Gunn to try and hope that the safety car would be in immediately. But you know what, we are coming towards the start of the final lap. It's not even the final lap yet. And, well, Timmy Gunn on very old hard tyres is looking to plummet down to 4th place potentially if Alfie JVR can overtake him. So Alfie is in his mind, the correct driver in 2nd place here, because this overtake will be for position, and he wants to get ahead of the Alpine driver to get that 1st place, but he doesn't have enough battery, and guess who? Is Big Red Vigilante. He is going up the inside, and Alfie JVR goes in very, very deep, nearly hits the back of the Alpine driver, and that is Big Red Vigilante now up then to 2nd place, challenging for the leader on the outside of the Alpine driver, and he has done it. He has taken 1st place on the road. Not that he really needed to, but he has done it, and Alfie JVR finds himself still stuck behind the Alpine driver, and Timmy Gunn will be loving this. You'll be thinking, yes, please fight with Alfie JVR, keep him behind me. He's the only driver I care about at this stage. I do not want him past me. Alfie JVR still struggling with his exits there, and Big Red Vigilante is just sprinting away. Darkseid Racing once again just looking to secure 2nd place as long as he doesn't get a 3-second penalty himself. But he wants to take it on track, down the inside, into the final chicane, but not able to make it stick, and it will be Big Red Vigilante who rounds the final corner. That quick left-hand flick to take 1st position at the Singapore Grand Prix. Darkseid Racing takes 2nd place on account of not having any penalties, and Timmy Gunn did well to stay in front of Alfie JVR on those very old hard tyres. Bring up the tyre graphic, 15 lap old hard tyres to Alfie JVR's 4 lap old softs. An excellent job done there by Timmy Gunn, who secures his position on the podium and kicks the championship leader off the podium once again. And White Tiger finishing out in 5th place. Kind of where he's been for most of the Grand Prix. He did drop down to 2nd last at one stage, but managed to work his way back up with the chaos that ensued afterwards. Toxic Waste in 6th place, Forza in 7th place, Alan Buckingham in 8th place. Wider Blue not quite able to undo the damage dealt very early on in the race, and he will finish in 9th place. Josh Renault persevering to the end despite being limited to a keyboard. Sure, he finished 10th place and last, but he finished, and that is all that will matter to him. A bit of a slow burner at times, but it delivered at the end. And it was a tight battle for the lead at all times, and then it suddenly became a four-way fight at the end. A difference in strategy. One that did not quite play out for Timmy Gunn, but he was able to stay ahead of Alfie JVR. I just realized I forgot to turn up the volume of the game, so with all the PC troubles in the beginning, I was busy looking at that, not at audio levels. Anyway, I hope that race was still enjoyable nonetheless. Hello, Japes. TNT and rain at about 75% of the race distance and dried up again. Was that bad? Ah, my word, that is... Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. Because most of the race is done at that point. And you have to pit. And then you have to pit again right at the end. My word. Well, I hope you had fun. That's always the most important thing. Even if it can sometimes be a bit of carnage and crazy weather cycles. Anyway, that is it for me. It's the end of the Tier 3 race. I hope you all enjoyed it. Ah, it's a Luna one. That's good. Okay. So I'll be streaming again on Wednesday night for the Tier 1 race, which will also be taking place at Singapore. Wonder what sort of weather we all get there. But until then, I hope you enjoyed the racing, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.